And here is the video review for Transformers Prime Robots in Disguise Revealer Deluxe Wheeljack. And that's kind of a long... Robots in Disguise is basically the new catch-all line for Transformers. It'll have all sorts of... From what I understand, it's going to have a lot of different lines all in one... different sublines in one main line. This happens to be from Transformers Prime. This is Wheeljack from the show. Interesting that we got him, who showed up in one episode, before we've gotten some of the other main characters, like Ratchet. We've seen Deluxe Ratchet. He looks really cool. I'm trying to hunt one down. But yeah, we got Wheeljack. And he's a neat little, kind of futuristic-y looking sports car. A couple minor complaints about the figure as a whole, one of which is, like, I just wish the spoiler on the back were a little bit bigger, a little wider. And for transformation, that would kind of hinder, especially the robot mode. And it works okay for the design of the car. I just would have liked this to have been just a little bit just wider, I guess. But yeah, all in all, you can see a sword store under here. They just tab on. There's a little peg right here the handles tab onto. But all in all, like just a neat little sports car. Now you'll see there's a couple tabs under here, and what you can do, and again, he hasn't done this on the show. It seems a little silly to me, but you can actually take these and plug them into the front to give them kind of like a vehicle with tusks, like a puma or a chupa thingy. Anyway, I mean a warthog. If you get the joke, you get the joke, and more power to you for getting the joke. Anyway, you can put the swords on the front of the vehicle mode for stabby vehicle mode. Actually, you'd have them facing down too, but why would you want to? Oh man, and those just, like I said, those just store. You can see there's a little peg here, and there's a little hole in the handle. You just peg them right on there, and they store underneath the vehicle mode. And just a quick comparison, here he is with the Generations vehicle mode. You can see he's a little smaller than that. Height-wise, they're about the same height from the ground, but he's a little shorter and stubbier than the Generations vehicle. So, yeah. And then, give me a second to get everything else set up, and we'll do a little transformation to robot mode here. And here we go with the transformation. One of the first things you're going to do is pop these swords off. Just set them down to the side over here. And you come out here and you want to pop the sides. You can kind of see you're going to split that cockpit with a windshield there. And pull these pieces out to the side. Don't want to separate that quite yet. Get these out first. There we go. Get that off to the side. Turn them over. Come under here. Flip, or actually you can go ahead and either way. Just pull this apart right here and flip the whole thing over and down like that. So you can kind of see how he's going to form a robot. Then down here on the legs, you want to split the legs. And then you take this inner piece, this section of, you can see kind of a split right here. This whole section rotates down. And you have to do this first because there's a tab right here that locks into this piece. So you rotate this piece down, and then you take this piece right here, and you slide the whole thing up, and then rotate. Once you slide it up the leg here, take just the white part. You'll see there's a dark gray part in here, and rotate it around the dark gray part. Then flip the foot up like that, and then up here at the thigh swivel, rotate the whole thing forward. And there's one leg when you can flip the little knee spur out. And it's the same thing over here. Rotate this down, slide this up, rotate it over, flip the foot up, and rotate the entire leg. And there his legs are transformed. I like how this looks from the side. It looks a little off, but from the front it looks nice, and it's a really... I give it points for transformation because the just flipping everything around is very cool. You're going to want to kind of pull these up. You lift it up on this dark gray hinge, and then there's a lighter gray hinge here that actually lets this slide down to come out to form the shoulder. And you can see there's already a couple peg holes here. The chest is going to peg right in here. But you take this whole top piece, rotate it down, and once you get about halfway, you take this piece, and there's a hinge right here, and you just kind of push it so it slides up and behind that piece right there. And then this piece is going to tab right in here, and then these two tabs right here will peg right into these shoulder pieces. You may have to do a little finicking to line everything up properly, but it will all peg in once it's in proper place. And then his arms, you want to take these rear wheel cowls, little coverings here, and rotate them up like that. So you can see into the arm, and it opens this hinge. And then this whole windshield assembly, black piece and hand right here, you pull out, rotate it, and then plug back in to form the arm. And the same over here. And then you open up these gray pieces that form part of the roof here. And you just open them up like that. And there is Wheeljack in robot mode. And his swords, of course, he can hold them in his hand. They also have this peg right here. You can, if you want, peg them onto his shoulders. And I've seen them stored that way, if you want to do it like that. But there is, however, if you hold them you want to do it this way, you can kind of see there's a curve here in his back, which kind of matches the curve of the sword. And there's a little slot right here, right behind where the hinge for the chest piece comes in. You can actually just slide it right down in there, which is a little bit more accurate to where he stores them on the show. It does kind of interfere with the look of these wings back here, and unfortunately they don't angle quite as much as they did on the cartoon. But you can take his swords and store them right there in the back, and you can kind of see how that kind of matches the curve of his back there. So all in all, really neat. Minor complaints about robot mode. One, the legs, like I said, they look really nice from the front, and the way to transform them is really neat. But from the side, you see how they're kind of front, and they got the whole foot piece is like a separate chunk stuck onto the back of the leg, and I think it looks a little bad from the side. These windscreen pieces don't fold away anywhere. They just kind of sit there off the side of his arm like that. And they're clear. They don't really, I mean, like, in the way he's designed, they don't really get in the way of anything. They just stick out there, and it's just a little weird. I think if they'd found some way for them to fold up just right up here against the arm, it would be a little less obtrusive. But they didn't, and like I said, it's not the end of the world. They're very minor complaints, but they are complaints. Very minor. Because all in all, he's still a very cool figure. He's got a lot of posability. He's got ball joint hips, swivel thighs, a little limited knee movement, not a whole lot. I guess it can move further back than I thought, but like forward, you can't go a lot. You're going to really want to need to go forward anyway. But his feet are on ball joints down here, so you've got a lot of movement in the ankles and in the feet. Although they are limited forward just by the front cowl of the car. So yeah, ball joint shoulders. He's got an extra hinge up here. No bicep swivel. He does have a swivel right up here at the shoulder. There's a ball joint here, as well as the gray piece is on a hinge there. But there's not a swivel around in this area, which would have been nice to have. Regular hinge elbows, and then his wrists are actually on a double joint there. Although again, limited in movement. Actually, it looks like a ball joint with a hinge. So you can rotate it however you want, and you can fold it a little bit. But in and out, it doesn't have a whole lot of movement in there. And the head is on a ball joint, but again, the amount of poses you can reach is kind of limited by the way the collar piece fits around his head. But he can look. I mean, like, there's enough clearance for his chin, so you can actually turn his head all the way to the side. It's just from that direction, it's blocked a little bit by this shoulder / collarbone. Or collar rod, I guess, if we're talking about robots. But you can get some really neat dynamic poses out of him that are fairly stable, because you can set the feet flat in just about any direction. So you got some neat. Give him his swords. Again, the sword will get a little bit blocked by that, but just give him like that. So you can do some neat stuff with him. Like I said, he's remarkably solid. As long as you don't have him trying to do like a long reaching forward, because you can get him like this and put this foot however you want, but you can't really get a straightforward put. You can't really get him in a really decent looking lunge just due to the fact that this back foot doesn't come all the way forward. But you can get him in some, like I said, that's actually not all that bad of a lunge. So definitely one of the. I mean, like it seems like the new figures in the line, like Wheeljack and Soundwave, are infinitely better than some of the new molds for characters we've already seen, like Cliffjumper and Bumblebee. Unfortunately. But Wheeljack looks really good. And then just some quick comparisons. Here he is in robot mode with the Generations. And as you can see, he's a little, kind of a bit of shadow on his face. Despite being a slightly smaller car, he doesn't have as much bulk down here. He's much more streamlined and actually ends up being slightly taller figure. Like Wheeljack's eyes are about right at his chin, if you get a really good side-by-side comparison. So he's a little taller than his Generations counterpart. Not quite as bulky. But they look good together. Personally, I think toy-wise, he's much better. Optobotanist has said he still likes G1/Generations Wheeljack for the character, and right now we don't know a whole lot about Wheeljack's character in Prime. He's a former wrecker, and he's kind of a badass, but he seems to be based more. His character seems to be based more on drift. But we'll see. He's supposedly coming back. I look forward to seeing him come back, enjoying the show again. So maybe we'll get a better look at him. But toy-wise, far superior figure to the Generations one. And then just with some castmates, here he is with Cliffjumper, although I guess he was never really in the same episode as Cliffjumper, but oh well. He's about the same height as the first edition Cliffjumper. Starscream, obviously he's a little shorter, because I think Starscream, outside of Megatron, Starscream may be the tallest Deluxe, and Starscream may even be taller than Megatron. I'll have to double check that at home. At least the Deluxe Megatron. Hopefully I'll have a Voyager Megatron video for you tomorrow. And here he is with his former wrecker pal, Bulkhead. It was revealed on the show that they were both former members of the Wreckers. And he's not quite as tall in comparison to Bulkhead as he was on the show. On the show, he kind of came up. He was shorter than Bulkhead, but not much shorter than Bulkhead. He was probably about a head taller than he is now on the show. But all in all, not a bad scale considering Bulkhead's supposed to be such a large robot. I think they look good together, especially on display. So there's that. But yeah, these are out now. They're showing up at Toys R Us. Somebody even found some at a Target for a couple bucks cheaper out in California. So they're starting to hit Targets and Toys R Us right now, which means they'll probably hit Walmart and some other stores before too much longer. But they've been spotted in the middle of the U.S. and Missouri and all over the place. So keep an eye out because these things are starting to hit shelves right now. I definitely recommend, like I said, from what I've seen, I don't know if I can recommend like Cliffjumper and Bumblebee. But from the Deluxes or Revealers or whatever they're calling them, Wheeljack and Soundwave seem to be must-gets. And I can definitely say that having him in hand, Wheeljack is an incredibly nice little figure. So there he is, Transformers Prime Wheeljack.